this psychology of influence like really trips up a lot of people when it comes to like creator marketing, right? I want to redefine the industry to change what people say from influencer marketing to creator marketing, because every person has influence, right?
Mhm.
Every single person. And ultimately, the number one way that people will make purchasing decisions is through word of mouth, period. That is how the vast majority of purchasing decisions are made to this day.
Mhm.
So I read a book called Contagious by Jonah Berger, which talks about the psychology of influence, and he brings up social media influencers, and even I think it was something like 7 to 15. It was really low. I'd have to look at the actual numbers. It was around 7 to 9, maybe 15, at the most 15% of all word of mouth decisions. So let's say that on average, word of mouth is responsible for 50% of sales. Let's just say that. Now, maybe 10% of word of mouth is social media.
Mhm.
And quite frequently, conversations that I have with um, Amazon sellers specifically are like, well, how do I see the ROI in influencer marketing? And I'm not saying that that's a bad question, but it is a bad question, because what you need to look at is like we're so in the early days of Amazon specific, especially, man, you could put half-eaten spaghetti on Amazon and sell it, right? It's gotten a lot harder these days. And there's reasons why companies like LinkedIn, they just did a white paper that talked about how they're investing massively in brand. Same thing with Gary Vee. Gary Vee, he's come up a couple times in this conversation. Um, he is a huge proponent of performance-based marketing, but all of these big people agencies are focusing on brand, because brand is the deciding point. Like if you're gonna say between, let's say this is a Nalgene bottle that I've been drinking out of. So I don't know. Do you do video on the podcast, or is it just audio?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we
So for those of us that are able to watch video, you can see this is a green Nalgene bottle. Now Nalgene is they've been around forever, and they were like the water bottle for the longest time. Now, if I had a Nalgene water bottle and something that looked exactly like a Nalgene, and one just said Nalgene, and they were the exact same price, I would pick the Nalgene, because
Mhm.
of the brand and the story and the like the things that go along with brand. Or you have a little bit of the why. Like you had made a very good point earlier that like when you're starting a business, it's like a living, breathing entity, and that's what brands are, right? And when
Right.
you work with creators who are worth their salt, that are worth working with, right? These are people that are brands themselves, and you want to align your brand with like-minded brands to grow. And it's a huge disservice that I see people thinking of influencer marketing as just like cogs in a wheel. And there are incredibly brilliant business people that I respect that have started very lucrative companies that, for lack of better words, are like UGC puppy mills. So UGC, for those that are listening, if you're not familiar with that, that stands for user generated content, because user generated content works. User generated content is when, let's say I'm hiking, I'm drinking out of my Nalgene, and you could snap a photo of me drinking. You know, you're living this lifestyle of I'm doing what I love and I'm using your product. The most effective UGC is a lifestyle, and it's not sales driven, because people don't go to social media to buy things, right? Now, TikTok Shops is changing that to a degree. It's like the modern day QVC for Gen Z.
Mhm.
And it's really intriguing to see where that's going to go. I'm excited about it. That being said, generally speaking, we hang out on social media. It's like an aspirational medium that serves us dopamine, that triggers this desires like, oh, I want that. I want to be there. You put yourself in the shoes of the person who's taking the photos, right? It's again, the psychology of it, of influence, is amazing. Um, so brand wins, and brands understand that that the things that win are lifestyle. and portraying the lifestyle. And so it's challenging when working with Amazon sellers that are in a the business model, and there's something to be said for this business model where you sell through. You just white label something, sell through, take the money, and then sell through. That is actually a really good business model because you don't have to worry about keeping inventory on stock. You don't have to worry about maintaining your rank. You just, play the game, rank well, sell out, make money, and turn it over. But if you're looking at building, something longer term that has value that you can exit, say a brand, then you have to think about those things like lifestyle. You have to think about the stories that people tell about your brand. You have to think about word of mouth, and you have to understand that word of mouth is the number one driver of sales, period. And tracking word of mouth is incredibly difficult. Even when you ask people, how did you hear about us? They're going to remember maybe the last touch point, but they're not going to remember the preceding 10.